Yeah, they call themselves a monetary union, but they're all on their own when it comes to accounting for their debts and their expenditures, right?
In a union, in case we forgot what unions are, you know, Pete, the first class lineman gets paid, or they all get paid the same, you know, and so there's no real you know currency economic union. There's nothing like that. So they become their own sort of internal market, which has its benefits, by the way. But for the currency part of it, Pete, I think it was a big mistake. Hey, England, the Great Britain, excuse me, was smart enough, you know, to say, you know what, we're not giving up our monetary sovereignty because you know Great Britain's known since you know hundreds of years ago about the importance of money.
Joe, let's talk for a minute. We haven't had a chance to talk about the Supreme Court decision of a couple of weeks ago that took away the limits on campaign finance, basically equating campaign contributions with freedom of speech.
Well, Pete, let me, if it's okay, monetary policy and monetary sovereignty, Pete, okay? Imagine the people being in control of their money system, in control of their money system, acting through the Congress, in control. Uh, E.B. Goldenweiser, you know, who has written American Monetary Policy, kind of the penultimate textbook for monetary scientists, uh, when he was addressing the political part of it, Pete, that's what we're talking about, okay? The Congress, you know, the best Congress that money can buy, and all of that kind of stuff. And let's think about that. And on the other hand, let's hold on to Bernanke's thought. I don't want you guys looking over my shoulder while I'm creating all this money and paying it out to my pals, the bankers, you know? But Goldenweiser, in writing in this book, when he got into the section on proposals for changes to the Federal Reserve structure, he addressed the matter of politics. And this is what he wrote, Pete. It is naive to talk about the intrusion of politics into economic decisions. The intrusion is the other way. Politics is the machinery through which a democracy functions, and it has been thus, you know, been thus in command in Washington for a century and a half. What's his point, Pete? His point is this: we don't have to fear the intrusion of the people onto the bankers creating the money. We have to fear, and he was this is saying the intrusion goes from the bankers to the political system. Okay, well, what that the implications of that Supreme Court decision, which was you know the most dastardly of decisions to say that the corporatocracy rules, Pete, um, is to basically open up the floodgates. You got the people who create the money, and those people, and that's who the bankers are, Pete. You know, look who's on the boards of the Federal Reserve banks, all regional Federal Reserve banks. Who are they? They are the corporatocracy of this country. They have the power to just create money out of thin air and take as much of it to the guy. So they're buying the elections. Now, take that power away from them, Pete. Take that power away from them. Restore monetary sovereignty. Have a monetary authority that determines the amount of money in existence, and have it created through the budgeting process of the Congress. Now the bankers have to work with real money. They can't leverage their political advantage because the money's already been created, okay? Now the people are back in charge again. Well, we can go through a constitutional Congress if we want. Think of how long that will take. Or we can adopt, you know, the monetary reforms that's going to be well, the ones that are in the American Monetary Institute's proposals, Pete. All of that stuff goes to restoring the power of the people to run their money system. And if there could possibly be anything more important going on in the world right now than that, somebody ought to tell me what it is, because I see this is all connected. This is all happening. This is all relevant to everything that's going on right now. Bernanke's scheme, claim of his exit strategy, Pete. Let's talk about that within the concept of monetary sovereignty, okay? if you had monetary sovereignty, Pete, he wouldn't be telling us what the plan was going to be to have an exit strategy from all of this, quantitative easing, which is what it is. Okay, there would be an authority that actually determines if we need quantitative easing and how much, and what the benchmarks would be to determine easing, reversing the easing, and all of that stuff. So in other words, we would be in agreement. There would not be a conflict between the capital markets and the needs of the currency and the government to have the things that we're supposed to have, Pete: full employment and economic stability. Those are the things we're supposed to have. Those are the things the money system is supposed to be producing. So, I read his speech. I haven't, when he goes before Congress, I don't know who's going to ask him, how he's going to know when it's time to, again, one of his things, raise interest rates on reserves. They just started paying interest on reserves last year. Imagine that, Pete. We've created trillions of dollars of 0% money, and we're going to be able to raise interest rates. Who's going to benefit from that? So it's because we don't have a rational monetary system that we've got all of this stuff going on out there. And Bernanke, believes, because of that situation, that that's all he needs to do is to tell Congress what he's going to do, and then tell them to back off. So we'll see how the Democrats and Republicans hang tough for doing an audit of the Fed, Pete. Because if they actually do that, that will be a game changer. That will be a game changer. That's how that all relates, Pete. Monetary sovereignty.
What do you think they're going to find if they do an audit of the Fed, Joe?
I think what they're going to find is a lack of a cohesive plan and method to carry on monetary policy. That's what I think. Pete, there's this this report right here, which is a program for monetary stability. Okay, it was written by a half a dozen university economists.
When was that written, Joe?
1939. It's really a broadening of the Chicago Plan for Monetary Reform, Pete. Okay. And in there, they lay out, this is why you can't have all of the discretionary powers in the hands of the bankers. Because if you do, what it says in there is, we're going to end up right here, where we are right now, Pete. Okay? And it talks about, this is how you need to set policy. This is how you need to set goals and objectives. This is how you need to test whether you're meeting them and what to do about it, and all of that stuff. Needless to say, Pete, they advocate for an end to fractional reserve banking. They advocate for full reserve banking. They advocate for money creation by the government. They advocate for a lot of things that are in the American Monetary Institute's proposals.
We'll take up more of this next week.
All right, Pete.
Okay.
Hey, glad you're back.
Thanks, Joe.